got work to do in the world. Jasmine, where are you at in the world right now?
I'm in my backyard.
Nice. And Julissa, where are you at, huh?
At home.
Nice.
I'm excited.
Do you guys hear Flash snoring? No.
Mm-mm.
He's knocked out. He's got his tongue out. That's how knocked out he is. Cool. Well, let's wait like 3 more minutes as people start like hopping in before we get started. Oh, hey, Emily. Jasmine, where are you right now?
My backyard.
Where is that?
Washington
DC or state?
State,
Okay, cool.
like south of Seattle.
Nice. How's it being home?
It's all right.
That's fair. How about you, Ariana?
Home is great. Ready to be gone though. Ready for traveling to be allowed and the world to be open and
Where's the next move?
TBA. I'll let you know when I know.
Okay. Sounds good. How about you, Jalissa? Where's home?
California.
Oh, nice. What part of California?
Downey.
Okay, cool. Got a lot of Thirst Project leaders out in Downey. Nice. Okay, so let's get started. Cool. So just wanted to start off with following up on how the homework assignments went. I know not everybody was on for the last call, but basically some of the the 3 assignments were to go protesting peacefully, to speak with a racist family member or friend, and then to write to a local legislator. So you didn't have to do all. None were actually like forced, but we encourage you to do all 3. Did anybody do any of the assignments? And if so, how did they go? Jasmine, see you nodding.
Yeah, it went good. I went to a protest on the 19th, on Juneteenth, and then I talked to my cousins. I wouldn't say that they're racist. I would just say they're misinformed. They don't have a lot of really good influences in their life. And we had them over and we talked about it, and then I took them to a protest. So
Nice.
that was cool.
Nice.
And then I regularly call my representatives.
How are they misinformed?
Well, they grew up, they they have an uncle who's kind of like very extremist, so that's really the only news that they hear is very like the most extreme stuff, so they just don't really know what is going on in the world. So when we first talked about it, all the protests, they just kept calling them the riots because they didn't really know what was going on within them and what they were really about. So that is how they're misinformed.
Right. Cool. I hear you talk about the difference between riots and protests. What is that difference for you?
Well, to me, it's just not it doesn't really move anything forward to call them riots. It just doesn't, it's not what they're about. Like, it's, the point of the riots is that the property matters way less than people's lives. And people are very focused and caught up on the fact that property has been broken, but it's worth nothing. Somebody's life is priceless. So calling them a riot is just detracting from what everything is really about.
I forgot that I was on mute. I said, cool, thank you. That's really, thank you for sharing. Did you do any of the other assignments? You didn't have time to reach out to the legislator yet, right?
Well, I call them a lot.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you did all three.
Yeah.
Cool. What do you say when you call them?
I usually introduce myself and I tell them that I've lived here my whole life, and I kind of remind them that they kind of work for me pretty much. And that the change that I want to make is the people's change. So they need to get on it. And then I talk specifically what I want to talk to them about.
Nice. That's cool. How about you, Ariana?
Okay, I had to make sure my mic was on. So I live in Florida, so I live in a very red state, and so it's very easy to have a conversation with someone, with a racist person. It's very easy to go into the grocery store and like hear a microaggression like in passing, or like maybe like straight to you. People are very vocal here about how they feel and if they're angry. But half of my family is in law enforcement, so it's been a constant state of headbutting for a very long time now. So like, as much as this is all like becoming into light because of George Floyd's death, this has been like a very long, constant battle for like just the everyday life of a person of color in Florida. So I went to a bunch of different protests. My sister actually hosted a protest in our community. All of them have been very peaceful. I have not experienced any riots. Our town like went into they put in like a curfew whenever there was supposed to be a riot, but there was no riot in sight. So we're not really sure like where the riots aren't here, but I guess there are other places. Our media like has really stopped showing a lot of the protesting now, though. Like you see a lot less of it because it's not riots. And so I think like that's like a huge divide between what a riot is versus what a protest is. And it's like the reason why people think that it's so destructive is because that's the only thing that's being shown on television or on your media platform. So, but yeah,
Wow.
that's pretty much, that's the Florida life here. Yeehaw.
You said so much, like all in one. I'm like, okay, wait, we gotta.
Inconsistently.
No, it was pretty consistent. It was just like, it was packed with so much. So I guess the first thing that stood out was just that, like, how normal it is, I guess, to experience racism to your face. I mean, how was that like growing up like that?
So I went to a lot of different, like, I don't know, it's almost like my town was segregated, but unintentionally in like quotations. I went to an elementary school where like it was predominantly like Hispanic people, and like I remember like in kindergarten like half of my class didn't even know how to speak English, and like we were like teaching them how to speak English as well as teaching them to read. And like so that's like one part of our town, and that's like you see racism in that way. And then also I ended up going to an all black after school daycare, and there's no explanation as to why it was an all black after school daycare except for the fact that's where the neighborhood was, and like that's just systematic racism like right there in your neighborhoods without anybody even paying attention. So it's blatantly in your face, whether it's like whether it be like for school systems or neighborhoods, but it's also in your face with like people being vocal. People have signs and flags and things that like purposefully make people uncomfortable, and they use that as like a talking point, and like they almost do it on purpose and intentionally to like get an argument out of somebody, or to, I don't know, just to cause people to feel uncomfortable, I guess.
Has that ever happened to you? Someone being vocal with you?
Yeah, multiple times. I've had someone call me the N-word at a McDonald's drive-through. And then I was at a Target one time and the woman accused me of stealing before I walked outside of the checkout lane. Like I didn't even have the chance to pay for anything. And one guy like was cursing at me and Chick-fil-A one time for cutting him off in traffic, I guess. I don't really know. But thankfully, all of the times it's never become like a violent altercation or anything like that. It's always just been like someone says something and then other people are around and they're like, hey, like you can't act like that or say things like that. So it's very half and half, but
Wow.
red nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So you talk about it being violent, which like I'm so thankful that it hasn't ever been violent for you. What are the effects of it? Because violence is one physical way of abuse, but like what, I guess, like how would you explain how you feel with being like verbally abused or emotionally abused even?
So for me personally, I guess I was naive growing up. I don't know. I just kind of like took the microaggressions and I took the fact that of like the system that I grew up in. I didn't really think much of it. Most of my family is like really, really Republican and they like really don't like anything that has to do with like equal rights for some reason. I can't explain it. But like when you just grow up around it for so long, you kind of just think that's what's normal. And so for a long time, I didn't think think twice about it. And then as I started getting older and started forming my own opinions and my own beliefs, I was like, wait a second. It kind of started hurting less because I realized that there's just people that have different beliefs and you really just have to separate it from like, it's not a personal thing. It's something that's out of your control. It's out of your power. I can't take off my skin and make these people feel more comfortable. Like hate is taught. Like, so it's not me, it's them. Is something that I kind of just have to tell myself all the time.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that there's like still so much that I could ask, but I want to give some more people chances to share. Is it Jaya?
It's Jaya. Sorry
Yeah.
for being late.
Oh no problem at all. This is like very casual. We just want to practice what we preach in that like we want to hold space for our community and have conversations about things that affect the communities that we work the most in. So don't feel like, I mean, it's also summertime. We're thankful that people are still showing up to school, you know what I mean? So yeah, no need to apologize. Where are you from?
I'm from Orlando, Florida.
Oh, cool. Are you friends with Ariana?
No, but
Oh.
where are you from, Ariana? Oops.
I think she's from Orlando. Her camera's off right now, but I think Ariana's in Orlando. Is that right, Tracy? Oh no, she's on. Okay.
Tampa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tampa.
Yes.
Tampa. Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah. So, what do you call it? How are you? First of all.
Good. Thank you for asking. And I'm really like glad that Thirst Project is doing these. It was an exciting like opportunity to
Cool.
like talk about these issues.
Nice. Why?
Sorry?
Why?
Oh, why? Because it's just I mean, like on like social media and things like that, you'll see organizations like talk about, oh, like this is what we're committing to and like things like that. But what I've always appreciated about Thirst Project is that they're definitely a more in touch organization. Like I feel like that's what like part of like the foundation of it. So to actually be able to have these discussions with also like a more diverse group outside of like the bubble of people that I talk to is also like a cool opportunity to also like listen to what other people have to say and like their experiences.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I've only been with Thirst for like 6 months, but it's very clear that leadership is super important, and teaching people how to be good leaders is really important. And what that falls under is like understanding that people have different perspectives, is being able to hear other perspectives, to share your own, and like it can still be emotional, but in a productive and efficient way. So thank you for saying that. We're talking about the homework assignments that we had last session, which were to protest, to speak with a racist family member or friend, and to reach out to a local legislator. So right now we're just hearing back from people who have done any of the homework assignments. Have you done any of that in the last week? or so?
Necessarily, actually, but I mean, I haven't been allowed to really like go out physically in protest as much as I would like to, just because of the current health crisis. But I do plan to like reach out to the legislator. It's like on my list for this week, sort of thing. But
Why, like what stopped you from reaching out?
I just haven't yet. So I've been trying to work with this group organized by some alumni from my school because I just graduated, who are trying to like, it's like a private school. It's predominantly white, and most of yeah, it's not a very diverse school by any means, and it doesn't really encourage open discussions about any sort of controversial issues, which is understandable from one perspective because they have to keep the parents happy, sort of thing. But at the same time, it's kind of disappointing for the students not to actually like talk about like real issues. Like the first time that I think we had like an actual discussion about like current events in like a more realistic way, and this was the first time that we also had an LGBTQ club approved, was after the Pulse shooting in Orlando. And it
Shooting?
the Pulse shooting.
Yeah. Wow.
And the nightclub was actually owned by like a parent at our school. So she like came and spoke to us. But it's just like it's always like spoken about in very veiled ways. Which is why like a group of alumni are trying to raise like a certain goal of money to donate to 4 like local organizations focused on community development. And then we're also like supposed to do some outreach with the school to try and see if they'll like change some structural things like the curriculum, the way that they like select students for scholarships and things like that, to try and encourage and like foster a more diverse community where there's more open discussion. So for the past couple of weeks, I've been like investing a lot of my time in that, and which hasn't really, like I've done like petition signing and small things like that, but I would really like to like reach out to legislators soon.
Yeah. No, yeah, I don't ask to like shame you in any way. It's just I love hearing all of the different ways that people are choosing to fight for equality. And you know, at Thirst Project, I feel like we preach a lot that it starts internally. So the fact that you are starting at home is super, super important. Just as important as it is to people who do call. You know, I think you do what you can, and then you continue. So that's really awesome to hear. What's been some of the feedback that you've gotten or that people have shared during those conversations?
It's kind of been mixed. There seems to be like a fair amount of support from like various like kind of like individual faculty members, like a few individual administrative people, and then some parents. But then at the same time, like there are a pretty heavy contingent of like very conservative parents at our school. So it actually like started by on like our graduation post on Facebook, someone who like started this group like posted a comment saying like, congratulations class of 2020, now like use what you've learned and like the privileges you've had at this school to like try and affect some sort of change and like bring attention to like the inequalities in the world. And then like a parent like responded very like rudely, and the school ended up like taking down both of those comments, which people started feeling was censorship, which wasn't the objective, but at the same time. So I mean, I don't know, we haven't like directly confronted our school yet, which is why we're trying to like think of the proper ways to do that in order to like get them to actually do things. But outside of that, it seems like individuals are pretty supportive of it, which is nice.
Cool. That's such a like interesting challenge. My mind, just like the type of person I am, I'm like, how can she reach out to these schools? Like trying to figure it out. We have Devin on here, I believe, who is our director of operations at Thirst Project. I feel like Devin, are you on here? Let's see.
I am.
Yes. Cool. Well, I'm going to put you on the spot for a second because I feel like you're kind of the organizational king in a lot of ways. And I feel like you know how to approach people in a kind way, but still in an effective way. Do you have, oh, wow.
Sorry, I was having lunch listening.
What would you suggest, or do you have any feedback or suggestions for Jaya, if I'm saying it right, to reach out to her school or bring up a conversation about race?
I would first kind of think about what maybe teacher or somebody you might be close to, an adult in the school system that you're in, that might be able to just talk to them first and be like, hey, I'd love to have this discussion, or maybe start, I don't know if there's like, get a group of people together to have a discussion, but it's always nice to partner with an adult or an advisor at a school, kind of like what we do with Thirst Project Clubs anyways, and have them help perpetuate the conversation to the people that need to make those bigger decisions, like the principal or vice principal, or a place to, maybe they can give you a classroom to have or if you're back in class in fall, but or a Zoom link to be able, chat room to be able to facilitate something like this. But yeah, definitely partner with an advisor. I think that's the best route with schools.
Dope. I love that suggestion. Definitely did
too.
not think of that. I don't know if you already did, but I think that that's a great way to start. And now, like, looking back at a lot of the things that I did in high school and in college, like, I agree. I think, using your resources, using those people that you have that are already engaged, that you don't necessarily need to convince that everybody deserves equal rights is a great place to start. That's awesome.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Sarah Delaney.
Hello.
Okay, awesome. How's it going, Sarah?
Sorry, just joined. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us. We're just checking in on some of the homework assignments that we gave last week. Were you on the last session by chance? You were? Okay.
No, my teacher just told me to join today, so that's why I'm here.
Oh, cool. Wow. Way to listen to your teacher during the summer. That's awesome. Cool. Well, we had a conversation last week about the history of a really quick history lesson on the police brutality and racial inequalities in America, specifically against Black Americans. And we had 3 homework assignments. One was to protest peacefully. The second was to talk to or speak with a racist family member or friend. And then the third was to reach out to a local legislator. So have you done any of those things? If not, totally no problem. But if so, what did you do and what was your experience like?
So I definitely see things different from people I know, maybe even family members who don't necessarily see things the way I do or don't agree with what I support. And I talk to people like that every day in my life, and I am passionate about what I believe in. I don't back down. I know, like, I believe in myself and what I stand up for. So I, talk to people like that every day in my life, whether it's family or family members, friends. I'm always respectful about it, I guess, but I would never, like, shy away from something that I believe in, especially with what's going on today in the world with Black Lives Matter and all the protests and everything. I find passion in it, and I like to stand up for what I believe in. So definitely talk to people.
Yeah. Wow. I feel like riled up just listening to you speak. I don't know if anybody else does. I'm like, oh, I don't back down either. But just to get more specific, what can you give me, like, an example of a conversation, whether it's recent, whether it's, a couple years ago, that you have had that has been difficult, where, like, it may have been hard to be respectful, but you still chose to be?
Yeah, I would say people like family members where it can be hard when people around you will, like, talk about what they support, and sometimes you want to feel like you shouldn't speak up because maybe you feel like you're being disrespectful or like it's not your place. But I feel like in times like those, like, I just remind myself, like, I have a voice too, and I have a way to support something that I believe in, and I'm not gonna, like, sit there and, like, bite my tongue, like, I'm gonna speak up because that's what you have a voice, use it,
Mm-hmm. Which family member would you say is, like, the most difficult person to speak to, and then which would you say is, like, the easiest family member to speak to?
I would say, like, my parents sometimes can be a little bit difficult to speak to, because it's just like your parents tell you, like, you know, like, you're young, like, or they just use that excuse. But I think I can talk to my siblings. I have 2 older sisters who I'm close to, and I know I can tell them anything or talk to them about anything, and that's what gives me comfort.
Nice. That's beautiful. That's really cool to hear. Cool. Thank you for sharing. Put you on the spot right when you and now I'm gonna move over to iPhone. No, I'm just kidding. What is your name with the white shirt?
Jenna.
Jenna. Hey Jenna. Nice to meet you. I'm Shael.
Nice to meet you.
So as you heard, we're just sharing if we did the homework assignments or if we went to any protests, spoke to any racist family members, called in legislators. Have you done any of those things?
I've definitely been talking to as many family members as I can. I haven't been able to attend any protests, unfortunately, as much as I would want to, but I've definitely been trying to get the conversation going. Anytime I see someone on social media posting about it, whether they have a similar or different opinion than mine, I do try and keep the conversation going. And I've definitely messaged a lot of my family members that post very differing opinions to try and hear their perspective and share mine a little bit.
What has that been like? Because I know we were just talking with Sarah about like in-person conversations, but what is it like to be, you know, virtually chatting with someone who has a different opinion, and you have to communicate your voice and try to understand their voice?
It's definitely, I would think, harder like messaging, because a lot of people with different opinions like to take just specific examples and go with that. So it's harder to really communicate every idea you have and really share like the broader message of everything. So I think that's been very difficult with messaging.
Interesting. What's been like the most common rebuttal that you've heard? Like the most common thing that's been like, no, this is right. You're not right. Like what has been that?
I think definitely the most common thing I've heard just on social media in general from people I'm friends with, people I just follow, has been like trying to share statistics that aren't accurate. Like a lot of people, when I get the conversation going, like to bring up that more white people are killed by cops, and then it kind of turns into a whole statistic argument when it's from very biased sources.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's been one I've been seeing a lot.
I've heard that too. I've heard that. I follow this pastor, and he posted something about it, and people are mean to pastors too, apparently, because they were like, how could you, like, you're so Hollywood, and did you know that Black people kill more Black people than cops do? And you know, it's almost, to me, it's almost like one person's hurt and they're like, yeah, but did you know that like this person's also, it's like, but this doesn't mean that we shouldn't still try to like help and heal. And like you said, a lot of the times those stats are completely inaccurate. And not only are they inaccurate in like the way that you're looking at it, but it's also like we talked about last week, it's a systemic thing. Racism is systemic, and like there's a reason why people are in poverty. And when people are in poverty, I mean, you guys are familiar with this project, we know what happens. People, you know, don't think the same way. People act different ways. Education is so important. People go based off of emotion. So yeah, I can completely relate with that, because obviously you can't like say all of that in a text. And when you try to, then you get, you know, heated or overwhelmed. So my question for you would be, when you do feel like that, heated, overwhelmed, whatever, how do you like regroup, and then do you continue that conversation? Do you end that conversation?
I can definitely say it's been hard, because there's some conversations I've had where it's very difficult not to let like emotions take over and get super heated, because some people will just have such like a very different opinion that I completely don't agree with. So it definitely gets hard in that sense. But at the end of the day, I just try and remember that my emotions aren't going to be what changes anyone's opinion. If I'm going to change an opinion, it's going to be with facts, it's going to be with evidence, it's going to be with like very like set in stone type of things. What I feel isn't going to change anyone's opinion on things.
Yeah. Wow, you guys are, I'm so impressed. Like, not.
Let's take a second to clap for that thought there. Yes.
Yeah, honestly, all of you guys are killing it right now. Whew. I'm definitely like the newest member to Thirst Project, so I'm just like shocked, and I guess I know students the least. So I'm super, super, super impressed right now. I've been talking a majority of this time, so I'm gonna pass it on to Luke and see if you want to ask any other questions before we give them their next homework assignments before this.
Perfect. Yeah, I think before jumping in with anything, with what Jenna said right there, I think something that gets lost sometimes in that thought process, because it's so right, you cannot, as the deliverer of information, be emotional, but it's super important to make the person you're talking to as emotional as possible. And so it's finding that super delicate balance of invoking emotion without being emotional. And once you can master that, it's like, of course, it's going to take time. And there are just people who may never believe anything you tell them. But again, those are kind of like what we're talking about with all these statistics. Those are just kind of irrelevant points to anything. And so, yeah, I think this is super unique. Like Shail said, I love all of you guys' points and what you guys have been doing. We haven't talked too much about potentially reaching out to legislators. I know at the very beginning, Jasmine talked about how she is constantly calling her local legislator and everything, which is great. My roommate is a big proponent of that. I've even gotten a passport delivered a little bit earlier because you can reach out to your congressman and get that done. And so I'm curious to open it up to the floor if anyone has plans of doing that or any other experiences around doing that, either in your local community or at large with anything that we've been dealing with.
I will say that for me, a lot of the people I've reached out to, it's just been while I've been scrolling on Instagram. And luckily, like I follow a lot of people who are like, call this number, post, do this, text this number. And it really is that simple. It doesn't have to be like a drawn out thing. I've just like literally earlier today, I saw something and it was like, call this person. I already wrote to Breonna Taylor's people because there was like a pre-filled out email for me. Like there's just, now I feel like reaching out to your legislators is like the easiest thing that you possibly can do. And I think it's also a really great way of learning because there are so many like pre-filled out scripts of what you can say. As you're reading those scripts, you're also informing yourself, So I would say like for the people who are on social media, don't feel bad about being on social media. Use it to your advantage and like tap into anytime you do see one of those posts, use that as a reminder to stop what you're doing, type that number into your phone, send that email, and then move on with your day. So that would be my suggestion. Jalissa, we haven't heard from you. Have you had experience reaching out to any legislators or?
Not yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, because it's kind of like harder for me, I guess, because I don't really know like how to like look it up and stuff and how to like find numbers. So I'll probably have to like ask for help when I'm doing it.
Cool. Well, I mean, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, so not yet, but I can try to at least.
I love that. I think we just started a Black Lives Matter page on our website. And we're trying to use that as kind of, again, we really want to practice what we preach. So just having that as a resource for everyone to be able to keep up with what we're doing to fight for racial equality. So, we have a couple resources on there right now, but it's making it very evident in this conversation that we can add, some legislator, contact information so that you guys can just like click send, and we can even like have a pre-filled out script if you'd like. But yeah, I will make sure that we write that down for the next meeting, hopefully, if not by the end of the week. But yeah, anybody else have anything to say about reaching out to legislators?
If you
like, oh, sorry, go ahead, Jasmine.
If you do use an email script, I put my name in it, just something different.
Nice. Kellen, do you have any advice? I know that I'm not sure if you're on, but I know that you like are homies with a bunch of legislators. It seems like you're always talking to them to, you know, talk about Thirst Project and all of the work that we're doing. Do you have any suggestions on like the approach, on language that we should be using?
Hey team, sorry I'm not showing my camera here. I'm actually at our office right now, just working through some stuff. Say the question one more time. Was it how to approach a local legislator? Is that what you guys are wondering?
Yeah, I know that like at a lot of our team meetings, you've like mentioned reaching out to legislators and having good relationships with at least a few of them. Do you have any suggestions on like what type of language we should be using or shouldn't be using? How we should be approaching them if we do get in
Sure,
contact?
yeah, it's a good question. I think doing your research is super important because typically there are a lot of templatized responses or emails that you can send out. I mean, maybe you guys have already seen some sort of circulating on social media or I don't know, forwarded via email, but I think it's a good place to start because a lot of us, similar to Julissa, maybe don't know where to begin or what the right approach is. So I would say doing research on your own local legislators is super important. And if you're choosing to write your own response or your own message to somebody, I think using language that is solutions oriented and really articulates just issues that you're facing in your personal life, or if you're talking about representation, like the representation you're looking for. I think that just sending like blatant negative attacks doesn't accomplish what we're looking for with legislation specifically. So I would say trying to be really intentional about clear solutions or actions that you're hoping to get from your local legislators, or using templatized responses that you already see online. Because if we're talking about solutions with legislators specifically, it's like we want to be diplomatic in our conversations, in our communication style. So that's my advice. It really is different for every state, for every city. So you guys are going to find that the approach will vary, but it's a really important right now time because of elections going on. And I think that really like doubling down on people you care about and issues that you care about is really important. So I would say just doing your own independent research is just a necessity right now.
Nice, nice. I knew you were the right person to ask.
Thank you.
Out of like, if show of hands, who's over 18 here? Nice. Okay, cool. Who's registered to vote? Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay, awesome. We also included a voting link on the Black Lives Matter page as well. So, you know, feel free to share that with anybody. You don't have to share that exact page if you don't want to, but that link is there. We really do encourage people who can vote to vote right now. And yeah, that's just my spiel on that. Luke, do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, no, I think speaking to Jalissa's point and what you were talking about there, and Kellen, everyone's speaking to it. There are tons of ways to locate different types of representatives too. You've got local ones within your own state and city. You've got statewide ones, and then you've also got national ones from like your congressmen to your senators. And so we'll make sure to get up on our website at least general like locators and databases for you to look that stuff up. But we encourage you guys, if you have questions or other things that you want to like start figuring out what types of policies and changes you want to make, we're happy to be here and talk you guys through that and be a resource for you guys. But I know the last thing we want to kind of talk about and openly, and maybe it's not specific to the Black Lives Matter movement, but has anyone else here either as a witness, bystander, or actual person experiencing it, racism in their own life before, and kind of what those experiences were like or taught you and led you to even wanting to be a part of this conversation today?
Yeah, I know Ariana spoke a little bit on it. Has anybody else?
Oh.
Or no, you can continue sharing.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say, yes, I have experienced racism, and I feel like it's almost unavoidable in a lot of different areas, like all over the country, because it's happening like right in front of us, like on social media. It's happening right in front of us in our school systems. It's happening right in front of us, like within the government. And that's really like where it comes down to, like, where yes, we have to vote this November, but we also have to vote for your locals and voting for like your state stuff. So it's just really important to stay involved in knowing if you're going to advocate like with Black Lives Matter, it's important to take it to the polls as well as it is important to take it to social media. But I think that's really like the highlight of experiencing racism. And like if it's a personal thing or if you're seeing it as a bystander or whatever it may be, it's just important to know like where your actions are necessary, I guess is like a good way to say it. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but it's really easy to get angry and like want to point fingers and say like this is the solution and like listen to me now. But it's also more productive to like take a step back and just be like, okay, we'll see what happens on election day, or let me educate my friends and see what kind of change we can make outside of this huge divide that we have right now.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's so great. And I think the bystander effect is one of our great plagues of just human society in general. And for those of you who don't, if you don't know what the bystander effect is, it's essentially the concept that if you're standing there seeing someone be oppressed in any way, whether it's like beaten up by a person or verbally abused or anything, since you're not directly involved with that conflict, either as related to the victim or the offender that's perpetrating it, you will majority of the times just avoid that conflict entirely and act like it does not exist. And a lot of the times I have these kind of conversations is the bystander effect over the course of 400 years is kind of what we're dealing with right here, right now. And there's like we were talking about earlier, there's no place for us as the people trying to guide people through this change for emotion. We just kind of have to accept that as the reality of what it is. A lot of times, even I see a lot of even influencers and celebrities that are actually on the front lines, not just taking pictures, but actually out there fighting for justice. And they lose passion quickly and they lose hope because it's just an endless cycle of negativity. And I think the most important in anything that you're doing, even the work that we do here at Thirst Project with such a big, massive issue as the global water crisis, is you have to accept the like reality of the negative outcomes of it every day. So instead of waking up being like, oh my God, this problem is so much worse, you're going to bed knowing that it's going to get worse. And you're waking up saying, give me the strength to take this on. And your mindset's completely different. And so even though you only changed one person's mind today, you've at least made progress and you're not pulling back or bystanding any of that other time that you could have been wasting. And so I just know with everyone and everything from lockdown to just 2020 in general to Black Lives Matters, it's been a lot. And we've really at Thirst Project placed an emphasis on take care of yourself, because if you can't take care of yourself in those situations when you need to be the hero and not a bystander, you're not most likely going to. And I think thinking through that is if you've ever been in those situations and you instinctively didn't do anything, just take note of it. That's, you failed that round. It's okay. It's like that happens. But the next time it happens, are you going to have the courage or the like quickness to like take action in that moment and actually do what you say you believe in? And I think those are the real moments of change when you can realize it's like, okay, this is who I am. Night and day, there's no difference. And and once you become that kind of reputable person for what you're talking about, no one can really, if you're not posting every single graphic or if you're not doing the perfect thing, no one's like, well, you didn't fix it. It's like, of course not. We're all on the same page and we're all working towards a simple goal. And really glad that all of you guys are here today trying to do that same thing.
Nice. Yeah. Ditto. All right, everyone. So the homework assignments for this week is pretty simple, maybe not easy, but it is just to invest in Black. Many of you already do that. If you are investing in, music, in like urban music, if you are investing in, you probably do it without even knowing. There are probably trends that you are part of that you don't even realize, so it's being conscious about it. So whether it's watching a movie, whether it's supporting a local Black business, whether it's reading a book written by, someone else other than MLK, really just choosing to invest your time, your energy, your thoughts, whatever in Black, just so that you can empathize, you know, so that you can try to understand what a lot of people are feeling. It's not to create a separate, you know, a separate group of people. It's really just to be able to understand better. Just like when we go to Eswatini or El Salvador, you know, we immerse ourselves in that culture to get a better understanding of what it's like to not have access to clean water. It's the same thing, you know. So again, whether it's listening to a Tupac album or whether it's buying, you know, food at the local Black grocery store, invest in Black and do it consciously, and let us know what that feels like to consciously support a group of people that you know is oppressed. I know we already do it outside of the US, but it's almost easier to be separate from that. So now that it's, you know, people just next door to you, we'd love to hear what it feels like, what that experience is like next time. And so the next time we will be checking in is on Thursday, which is the 25th. So basically you have 2 days to do that. And if you have any questions, as always, Luke and I are both available. Our info is on Thirst Project's website, as well as feel free to message or email info at Thirst Project or any of our socials with questions that we can help you with. And yeah, that's about it. Does anybody have any questions? Any last things that you'd like to share or say?
And if you got some movies, drop them in the chat for Julissa. She's going to have a long weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. The Hate You Give. Yep. 13th. Yep. Yeah. And we'll be putting them on our website too. So, you know, contribute to the ongoing list that we have. But yeah, have a great rest of your day. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us during the summertime.
Thank you for being like awesome facilitators. This is one of the best discussions I've had on this. And it's like largely in part of because of how you ran it. So thank you.
Yay. Awesome. Cool. Well, we're really excited to continue the conversation on Thursday and put a stamp in this segment, but continue next Thursday, just so you know, will be you guys contributing to like, all right, how does Thirst Project take this conversation and apply it to our work? You know, we're bringing it back to, you know, the global water crisis. So, you know, if you'd like to marinate on that, go for it. But even if not, we'll have an open conversation on Thursday. So thank you so, so much, everyone, and have a great day. Yay.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you guys for being here. You're awesome.
Thanks, everyone, and thanks, Shael.
Woohoo. Woohoo. All right, take it easy, gang.
Bye.